I'm hoping that everyone can hear me. If anyone's in here, please let me know. No. Start off just by welcoming everyone to the first annual GOATY's Award Show. We're going to go through, I have like about 19, 20 awards on a slide thing that I made here. Figure everyone hopefully can enjoy a little bit what these are, little high school um, superlatives for the league. I don't know if I got one for everyone though. If you weren't in there, then maybe just be like more interesting next year. But beyond that, I think we're good to go. Sounds like J-Roy can hear me, so that's good. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. The first annual Goodies. Alright. So the first award is the Nikhil Harry Award. This goes to the worst rookie pick in the draft that year. So I started off. It's a little low. Okay, I can probably put it a little bit closer. All right, is this any better? This might be better. Probably a little bit better. Just yep, probably good. All right. So this is for the worst rookie pick in the draft, and I ended up giving it to myself. Self burn. Quentin Johnson was probably for the value that he was drafted at, probably the worst performing rookie, in my opinion, in the year. However, I don't take that into account when I do try to most likely trade him to someone possibly during the draft or this year, because he's definitely going to break out next year. Let's see. Next award, the Rookie Whisperer Award. Award for the best rookie pick in the draft. And this was between two, obviously. But the winner I ended up making it Puka Nacua for the draft value and what he is going for in starting drafts right now, which I believe he's like literally like first or second round pick in startups at this point. He probably got drafted like around like 11, 15, something like really low. So it was a little bit better than the Stroud pick at 6, in my opinion. Just a little bit more value. 20,000 Leagues Award. This is for what I believe is the deepest team in the league, and that goes to Rough Riders. He had the most points for the year, not only in the bench, but also in his team in general. And so it felt pretty self-explanatory, but I think like there are definitely a couple people that could end up challenging him for this in the future, especially like the next year or two. Most improved team. For me, this was the team that went most improved from the start of the year to the end of the year, and I ended up giving that to On Stroud 9. There is another award further back in the thing where basically somebody. I think that Matt's team got a lot better just in general over the course of the year. We got a lot of good trades with the Aaron Jones trade, dropping off Will Levis for like Waddle. And what was the other trade? Yeah, the big trade, which was Andrews and everything. Fire Sale Award. This award for this is just as much for me like I'm not 100% sure which one's gonna come next, so I'm just touching on them as I go here. But this award is for the team that made the most substantial rebuild sales during the year, and this was between both Mike and Brockness Monster. That ended up giving it to Brockness Monster, where he got Kincaid, traded Hawk, traded Jonathan Taylor, he had one other big trade, but he's like got like 2 firsts and like 2 seconds or 3 seconds in this upcoming draft. I think he might have a first next year. He's got a bunch of draft capital that he ended up just basically. I thought his team wasn't too bad, but he did end up doing like the Drake London and Ramondre Stevenson for St. Brown. So another like kind of 2-for-1 rebuild sale there. Blockbuster award. I was trying not to go into this too much, but this is basically the award that I was already talking about for the two teams that had the biggest trade with the most big name players, and that was the Mega Beanie Mites and On Stroud 9 with the Pitt Stroud 2025 first for Keenan Allen, Lamar, and Andrews trade. Like, looking back on it, like, this is actually, like, it came out to be, like, pretty damn fair. Stroud, I think, is, like, a top 5 fantasy asset at this point, but, and so you get that, a first, and maybe emergent Pitts for a little bit more win now with Lamar, Andrews, now. But it was good. Good trade for the boys. Big first trade. Day Trader Award. This, I believe, is for the person who traded the most during the year. Good or bad, as it says. Yep. And I think we all know that this is fucking Colby's, who doesn't have a draft pick for forever. I think he might actually have a third. I don't even remember. But yeah, he had so many trades on his quest to victory this year. White Flag Award. In my opinion, this is for the person who ended up making a trade that started a rebuild when they didn't really have to, and that was Run and Tugs for the AJ Brown trade. I'm pretty sure he got I don't even remember. It was 2 firsts. I gotta go back in time. Yeah, fuck it. Never mind. I had to go back in time to end up seeing that because I have to reset the league back. But I believe it was like AJ Brown 2 firsts. This was J-Roy's trade, so if J-Roy's in here, he can type in the chat. But I don't remember if Kyron Williams was in there too. But, you know, he ended up coming in second with a lot of just solid picks. And if he had AJ Brown initially on that team, he probably would have won the whole thing because it was damn tight. Even though AJ Brown did fall off a little bit. Yeah, 2 firsts, Kyron, and 2-2. It ended up being a good trade overall for AJ Brown, but yeah, Kyron probably the Kyron production probably ended up being pretty close, but yeah. That was my opinion when he traded AJ. I thought he has a strong team. I mean, T. Higgins like super underperformed, and he was on his team too. Like, it's in a good spot. The Hoarder Award. This is for the person who is having the most draft capital, most valuable draft capital, and I believe that I ended up giving this to Brockness Monster because he has 2 firsts next year, a first this year, 3 seconds, 2 thirds, which is just a lot. I mean, his competitor was Pajak, who has his own picks this year, and then 3 firsts next year. So this was close, but I figured just because Dave had some in, I think, next year as well as more this year, whereas Matt just had it this year, I ended up giving it to Dave here. Jiro said, not Kyron outscored Brown by a ton at the end. Yeah, that's what I thought, actually. But still, at the time, his team was just so strong looking. It was a great trade overall, though. Diving in the, oh fuck, what just happened? Diamond in the Rough Award. Okay. What do we got? So award is for the team that had the best waiver pickup of the season. I don't even remember what I gave here. Oh yeah, Jake Browning. Ironically, it was Jake Browning because he actually ended up coming out and just like throwing for like 400 yards like 2 weeks. And I like this pick overall also just for the Sun God Supremacists, just because they also have Burrow. So basically, like, no matter what, you at least are going to have his backup, and he performed really well when he came in. Didn't really end up making much difference in the playoffs or anything, but it was a good pickup, and he can now remain on the team for them. Ironically, the next award is the Jake Browning Award. This is the award for the team that had the worst use of Fab during the year. So we will immortalize our Jake Browning saga that I fucking hated. And I don't even remember. I think this went to Payjack. Yeah, it was tied between $100 for Martavius Bryant by Payjack and $100 for Tim Boyle for J. Roy. But I do believe like there was a little bit more nuance to J. Roy's $100 for Tim Boyle, but the $100 for Martavius Bryant was legitimately just almost like felt like a rage bid. Like it was just like, hey, if I'm gonna spend all my money, like there's no point just throw it on this one guy and as a Hail Mary, which is pretty much what happened. But the guy never ended up seeing the field. And probably was out of the league this year because I think he only signed a 1-year contract. But the Life Alert Award. Award is for the team that started out strong during the beginning of the season, but then fell and couldn't get up. Classic. This is Brockness. Yeah, Brockness Monster ended up winning this award. Started off pretty strong, I believe. I think when I did the looking up for this award, he started off like 3-1 or something, and then just eventually like went on a big loss streak and ended up selling his players, but ended up starting out strong and then just falling apart and just moving into rebuild mode. Play Better Defense Award. This is for the team that let up the most points during the season. This went to Allied Andy. Poor guy. Anyone who you never want to be the winner of this award. But I mean, if you just played better defense, like you probably wouldn't have to worry about it. So, do a little bit of better job on defense next year, and you'll be right in the thick of things. I think he only missed like playoffs by like 1 game or 2 games. Put me in Coach Award. This award is for the team that had the highest percentage of bench points to overall points for. In other words, the least efficient manager. I don't even remember if this was Brian Saucer. He had the same thing because he ended up having the highest percentage just of points. I forget. Do I have that just quick? Do I have sheets? Yeah. And record draft points. He had more than 50% of his bench points to actual points for, which is not where you want to be. It's closer to like 55, 60%. The No-Show Joe Award. I believe this is for the team. Yep, the team that had the lowest score of the whole season during the regular season. So we have 10 starting players, including what for most teams should be 2 QBs. What was the lowest that somebody got? 62.36 by Allied Andy. I didn't even put the week, but I believe it was week 1 versus me. Yeah, that's impressive. Basically 6 points per player on average. And that's gonna be tough to beat in general, I think, for years to come, which is also why I'm glad that we did this, because then we can look back on it the next year and see how bad or how good it was. Let's see. Fantasy is Cruel Award. This award is for the closest loss of the year. And if you You if you get this award, you already know it's going to you because you probably wanted to like punch a wall at some point during the year. And we've talked about this a little bit at nauseum, but this is for Matt for that .12 loss. I don't I don't remember what week it was. I think it was early though, like week 4 or 5 or something like that. And it was because Aaron Jones ended up not playing on like a Monday night game, but on his bench he had Amir Abdullah, who ended up getting like 2 points that could have ended up basically actually making Matt make the playoffs, I believe, versus not make the playoffs. So fantasy is cruel, and it is truly a game of inches, like .12 for playoffs, essentially. Pain. Biggest rivalry award. This award is for the biggest rivalry of the year. This one's in here, and fuck you, Colby's. In the chat, they're always fucking razzing each other, just tell each other like fuck off. I know it's mostly all in jest, some truth probably, but at the same time, like also for the games that they had this year, where Nier actually beat Cody when he ended up trying to basically eventually rebuild his team up to win, and if Cody hadn't lost that, he would have had like a much clearer shot at the playoffs, but then he kind of had to just like get like super lucky because there's an award later on that also talks about basically how it's this one, the Tupper Trophy, which is for everyone that went to Bryant. This is the award for the game of the season, and it was like a week or two, I believe, after Cody ended up getting beat by Mike, where basically if I had beat Cody this week, where we both ended up scoring about 180 points, and it all came down to a Monday night game where McCaffrey basically on like in complete garbage time ended up picking up a like 32-yard like just screen for nothing, and he ended up winning by like less than a point or like two. And basically I gave that the number one game of the year because if Cody had lost that, he would never have been able to make the playoffs because, like I said, Matt probably would have ended up making the playoffs here if I had beat him here because it was just a one win, one loss difference. But yeah, he ended up winning on like a garbage time thing, and that kind of ended up propelling him all the way to the end. And like I said, it was probably like the second highest loss um, of the year with the most points. So like losing in the 180s. But yeah, I think that's everything. I think that's all the awards. Yeah, Matt says, funny thing is Cody doesn't make the playoffs or win the league if I don't lose that .12 matchup. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is, like, true cruelty. Like Cody had so many things break his way at the end of the year that, like, he had the players, but, like, at the same time, like, everything needed to break his way, which is why I was flaming him so hard during the year. But, yeah, that was the end of it. For anyone that ends up viewing this afterwards, basically, I was glad we were able to do this. We'll do this in the future. If we end up like having any other good ideas for awards people come up with throughout the year, like I write them down. But we'll try to keep it at least up to this amount with the same ones, or we can replace them if we think some of them stink. But yeah, it was a good 20 awards. I think everyone might have got one. I'm trying to think. Did anyone not get one? Ryan Star's got one, yeah. Megawini might's got one. I think everyone got one. Yeah, actually everyone did end up getting one. And that was not by design. But yeah. Like that was great that everyone at least got something. And like I said, if you want more, just be more interesting next year. But now you at least generally know what the awards are about. Just to finish all this up, submit a list or summary of who won what in the league chat. Yeah, I can end up doing a pin. I'll also probably do this is going to be recorded, so anyone who didn't get to view it live, they can end up watching it on their own time. But yeah, next thing that I was just going to quickly talk about was just that we're going to move on to the next thing, which is basically I'm going to eventually need to collect for next year so we can start voting on the rule changes that we've come up with so far. As of right now, let's see. Record of votes. This is what I have for voting. I'll make this a little larger for everyone. Try zoom. Zoom. There we go. So, zoom. All right, already paid. Get on my level. Yes, J-Roy and myself have paid, so that's 2 down. But yeah, we'll end up just needing to get everyone to pay so we can start voting on these. The draft is until uh, like third, fourth week in April, so it's not like huge. But I'd like to get all the payments back by the end of March. So then that way that gives us like 2-3 weeks for everyone to have enough time to vote on these rules. Because when it comes to voting on the rules, like everyone needs to vote on like all of them. It's not like we did at the beginning where I see like 6, 7, 9, 11, 11, 1. Like let's try to get everyone to vote on these rules. I'd like to see 12 responses to every rule. April 25th, 27th is the draft. Yeah, exactly. So I just want to give people plenty of time to end up voting and make their voice heard. I think that's the most important thing. But yeah, the voting will be teams trade away future picks must have already paid 100% of the league dues up for that season. So that basically means that if somebody ended up paying for 2026, they would have to end up putting the 50 in for that year. But I don't know how much anyone really cares about this. I think that we all kind of know each other. So as long as we're just upfront with whether you're going to leave or not leave, and just run your team without being like a dickhead, like you'll be fine. We're gonna vote on dropping 2 to 3 bench spots. I know we originally discussed 5, but there's no way we should start at that. I personally think we should start at 2, but when I put the votes in, I'll do it like how many do you want to do? Like 0, 2, or 3, and that will be like a 3 option. Vote. Increase league dues. I had one person just say, that if everyone was interested, we could up it to $100 for the pay-in year to year. But yeah, that's up to everyone what they want to end up doing there. Vote on commissioner trades only if more than 3 people protest. Yes. So I don't have to have everyone vote on every fucking trade. That could be time sensitive. Like they will end up be putting through if they're generally fair. If somebody comes back and, like I said, 3 people are protesting, we can end up putting like the trade to a full league vote at that point instead of just doing like a vote on every trade. What about fab trading rules? To prevent the pre-deadline chaos again. Yeah, let's put something in there for that. Let's say vote on cutoff time for fab trading. We could have like a fab trading deadline. We could do something like that so we don't end up doing that like at the last 5 minutes at 12 o'clock again. Let's just do that. I think vote on fab trading deadline. But I will also say, in terms of the fab trading, just assume based off like what everyone is like done to this point, you can probably assume that if you're gonna need to vote or if you're gonna need fab to like do something in the future, like you probably might have to do it right up to the deadline. But we will put the deadline like I don't know, like a week before maybe, like the actual. Yeah, I think just probably at like. Should we just do the trade deadline in general? I don't want to stop people per se from getting players at like any time. Um, hmm, hmm. Well, I guess I guess it would be, it'd be sometime before the trade deadline. It would have to be like maybe like a week before or something like that. That would be like one of the options. Let's just do a week before. So I think that's like week 10. Or we could even, and the other option would be to do it like a day before or something like that, or like a couple days before, like mid week 11 or something like that. I like the normal trade deadline we had, so people can make trades the day before a playoff matchup. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is it has to be pretty much in line with the actual trade deadline. So yeah, like maybe like a week or something like that beforehand. Um, so the two other things, thoughts on getting a trophy, or even during playoffs or the semis. Mm, yeah, no, there's always gonna still be a trade deadline, and that like basically applies also to fab trading in my mind. But I don't want to leave the fab trading in the same way as normal trading, where it can be like done at like the last minute, because yeah, I don't want to deal with that shit again. So let's just make it like a couple days before or like something like that, just so we're not sweating it at the end of like 1 week. But I want to make sure that people have enough time on that last week to know whether they're going to need to trade for fab or not, basically. Draft order selection process. So that is max points for versus total points. When it comes to max points for some odd reason, I can't do it on the web page, but in the app, if you go, there's usually like a little like thing that says view results right next to standings, where you can click on it and it will do a calculation, like an already calculated point max points for, which basically means that instead of doing the bench points like we did here, where I like calculate them, and it, to be honest, it was a huge pain in the ass. It did suck that there were some mistakes at the end. So that we don't have to do that, we can just use the automated version of that. And what it ends up doing is it just calculates your maximum points that you could have had that week. So, like for instance, like someone like Dave who had like the least efficient manager thing, like his max points for are very similar to his actual points for, but just like a little bit more. It'd probably be like 22 or 2100 or something like that, instead of like, or you have 23, 24 instead of like 280, 87. So if you just like, if you started a bad QB that ended up getting 0 points, but you had like Joe Flacco on your bench who got like 30, like when it calculates your points for the draft pick, it will put Joe Flacco as if he was starting. It always makes your maximum points for lineup. So that means that you can't just, it stops bench manipulation and starting lineup manipulation still, which is good because that's like the whole point of having that. And it also gives a very accurate detail of actually who has the strongest team or doesn't have the strongest team. There's league median. I don't know how people are gonna feel about that, but like basically what that is if you end up voting, or let's see, a couple weeks before the real deadline, even before first, easier on you as well and automated. Yeah, exactly. Um, this other one is league median, which basically just you you play against what is considered the median point of the league for every week. So it for every week you would have the ability to pick up 2 wins, 1 win or 0 wins. You could lose, but still beat the league median, so you could end up getting 1 win, but you ended up losing your game. So for that's like for anyone that loses like in those 180 somethings like matches, you still technically get a win because you ended up beating the league median. Um, and vice versa. If you got a win that was like a 120-point win, but you lose the league median, instead of being like instead of being 2 wins, you just get 1 win. It helps differentiate the the best versus worst teams, um, as opposed to it just being completely record based. Um, we'll discuss it more, but if anyone has any questions about that, they can just text me. But it's interesting. But I also am fine with just the more traditional sense personally. But I also understand some people would like maybe league median. And then I think, yeah, that was mostly everything. Yeah, 30 minutes. It's not too bad. I figured this might be like 45 minutes, so I'm glad we were able to get it all done so fast. But yeah, as of now, I'll probably just put in chat, whenever you get the opportunity to, just end up throwing me the $50 for the next year. Like I said, ideally, I'd like to have it by the end of March. But yeah, I'll hit everyone up individually, like after like another week or two. But yeah, thank you for coming, guys, and we will do this again next year. Looking forward to the rookie draft here. Once we end up getting all those votes out of the way and the draft goes, then we'll decide on a date for when to actually start the draft. I'm not sure if people are going to want to just like do it immediately afterwards. And by immediately, I mean like within the week afterwards or like the second week afterwards. But we'll have a vote on it so people are ready when they're ready. But yeah, good luck to everyone. Good first year in the league. I'll see y'all in the next year. GG's. Have a good night.